Here are these words for our chalice lighting. They are from that great transcendentalist and Unitarian Ralph Waldo Emerson. That which dominates our imagination and our thoughts will determine our lives and our character. That which dominates our imagination and our thoughts will determine our lives and our character. The words of Ralph Waldo Emerson. And I have a second short quote for our chalice lighting as well. This is from the Nobel laureate Herbert Simon. A wealth of information creates a poverty of attention. A wealth of information creates a poverty of attention. Come into this place of peace and let its silence, what Lynn just sang of, let its silence heal your spirit. Come into this place of memory and let our stories warm your soul. Come into this place of prophecy and power and let our collective vision heal your heart. Welcome to our time of worship together. So glad that you are here with us. We are here to tackle a really big, complicated, and critically important issue in our world today, which is social media. If we could look back on our lives 20 years ago and see where we are now, none of us would have believed what we would be doing with social media, with our devices, how we'd be living. And this is a profoundly, profoundly spiritual issue. So I invite you on this journey to grapple with social media, its dangers and its blessings. And who better to be with us to help us delve into this than Michael Wood-Lewis. Deb, could you just highlight Michael as well, spotlight Michael? If you make some noise, it makes it easy for Deb to find you. So hello, good morning, Michael. So glad you're with us.
Good morning, Mellen. It's my pleasure. Looking forward to this.
Michael is the co-founder with his wife, Valerie, of Front Porch Forum. And who's on Front Porch Forum? I am. Yeah, if you're not yet, check it out. If you're lucky, you live in a state that has Front Porch Forum. Which Michael started about 20 years ago. And so he has been on the front of thinking about how to create, not just use, but create this media so that it enhances our lives and heals us rather than diminishes us. So tell us a little bit more at the get-go, if you would, Michael, about Front Porch Forum.
Sure.
Thank you, yourself.
Mellen.
We're so glad you're here. I forgot to mention, you are a Unitarian Universalist. How you and I met probably like 15, 20 years ago. We were both members of the First UU Society up in Burlington when your kids were small. And I remember meeting you there. And that's where you started Front Porch Forum, right there, a little neighborhood in Burlington. So tell us.
Yes, well, I'm really pleased to be here today. I would love to be at the Springfield Meeting House in person. I've never been. But yes, the Burlington UU has been central to our family's life and raising of our kids and our involvement in our community and the larger world, and plays a role in how we conceived and have developed Front Porch Forum. So FPF for short is a collection of online local forums that blankets every community in the state of Vermont. And as mentioned, we started doing this about 20 years ago and have grown steadily. And now, yeah, we serve every town and community in Vermont. So people can join, it's free. You sign up online at frontporchforum.com. We sell ads to local businesses. That's our business model. There's no surveillance capitalism here. It's just more like a community newspaper business model. And our basic concept is people join for an immediate need, to find a lost dog, to borrow a ladder, to hear what's going on at the school board meeting, whatever it might be, plumber recommendation. And instead of doing those things with anonymous, distant strangers online, they do them with clearly identified people in their community. And when you do that over and over and over for years, it changes the tenor of the community back toward kind of how it used to be, where people know each other, they're in touch with each other, they're pitching in, they're helping out. And so what we found is over years of using Front Porch Forum, people grow more connected to the community, better informed, and critically more active. And they pitch in to put in an ice rink on the village green, or they help that neighbor in need, start a meal train, a casserole brigade, or whatever it might be. Now, those things have always happened, and they still happen without Front Porch Forum, but FPF accelerate that on that kind of activity.
That is so wonderful. I hopefully we'll hear a little later, a little bit more. I remember reading with enthusiasm the research you were doing a few years ago about the impact of Front Porch Forum, that it research data that it actually really makes a difference in people's lives. And so you started in Burlington, now you're in the whole state of Vermont and other states as well. You're kind of expanding beyond there. We have people from other states here.
Yes, we're over in New York State, around Lake George, Glens Falls area, a little bit in Western Mass. We're looking at the Upper Valley in New Hampshire, but really our focus is Vermont. We're not interested in, this is hard enough to do well locally, and the fact that the 24 colleagues I work with at Front Porch Forum are all Vermonters. That's a crucial part of our model. I don't think we have any business trying to host Front Porch Forum in Phoenix or something.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Michael. So we're really, really glad you're here. And so you're going to be a great guide for us in the next hour as we go through this. And what you touched on of what life, trying to sort of help us connect with what life used to be. Things have gotten kind of complicated, haven't they? Do you feel that in your own life? All of us, how complicated things have been.
Yeah.
And yet we have this longing for simplicity together for us. So I'm just going to share a little bit of stories for the kids' time. I remember a few years ago being in an airport. I don't remember which one it was. And you know how airports are? Loud. There was, and people going busy, people going back and forth, and all the noise and the carts and the little train-like things with their horns taking people in a hurry. Oh, it was crazy. And I don't know how, but somehow somebody gave me this pass to go into a private area for the airline I was flying. I can't remember what it was, Southwest, whatever it was. And so I went in, and the door closed behind me, and it was so quiet. There was nothing on the walls. And there were just some beautiful chairs sitting there. You could just sit down and relax. With no noise, no distractions, no so I sat. And then there was a counter if you had questions. There was some people working, but I just sat. And I felt my breath kind of go easy again. And I felt my heart slow down. And I felt my whole body relax. It was wonderful. It was like a little oasis in all this bustle and noise and chaos. And it made me think about when I was studying to be a minister, I heard this quote about Buddhism. So this great Buddhist teacher was hanging out with some students, and one of the students said, please, teacher, summarize all of Buddhism. You know Buddhism, what I'm talking about? Where is it here? It's this symbol. I have on my stole symbols of the world's religions. So this one is the Eightfold Path. So the great teacher of Buddhism, the student says, please summarize all of Buddhism in 3 words. And the Buddha said, attention, attention, attention. The ability to pay attention. And I felt so fortunate just sitting there in that calm space where my attention wasn't being pulled this way and that by 10,000 things. I felt better. I felt so much better. So let me read to you again that quote that I used in the opening from that Nobel Prize winner. A wealth of information creates a poverty of attention. What does that mean? A wealth of information creates a poverty of attention. When there's so much information, so much happening, it's really hard to pay attention. And it's a real gift to have a little oasis. You know the word oasis? It's like a haven where you could just sit and be without your attention being pulled in so many places. It was healing for me. I felt so much better. And when I left and went back out into the busy airport, even though it was busy, I felt calmer in my heart. And somehow I didn't react so much to all the craziness outside of me because I had found calm inside my heart. So how about you? You ever feel that way? Lots of things pulling on your attention all the time. Where's your oasis? Where's your haven? Where can you go? And when you go in and you can close the door and just sit and have nothing demanding your attention. Because your attention is everything about your life. That other quote that I used at the beginning from that great Unitarian, Ralph Waldo Emerson. That which dominates our imagination and our thoughts will determine our lives and our character. What you put your attention on, it's everything. Just like the Buddhist teacher said, what you put your attention on, it is everything about your whole life. So thank you for listening to my story. And I invite you to create an oasis, a haven from distraction in your own life on a regular basis. We need it. It's calming and healing. Thanks for listening. And why does it matter what we do with our attention? Because what we put our attention on is what creates our lives. And what do we really want to put our attention on? 10,000 advertisements and junk? No. What really matters, our affirmation summarizes what really matters. What's it all about, folks? And Jelaine has our affirmation to share with us. You can join me in these words. It's all about love. So we can focus our attention so that we can love. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. I know the old version, sorry. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. That's our covenant. So that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with the source of our being. So, Michael, I'm so glad you're here. It was really fun to talk to you in recent weeks in preparation for today. And boy, there's so much territory we could cover. It's a bit overwhelming. What I was just talking about attention there's a term, it's called attention economy. And it's just fascinating to read what has happened to our ability to pay attention and how much it matters. The study, I can't remember now, you probably know the one I'm talking about, that when you have an interruption, it takes 23 minutes to bring your focus back to what you were doing before the interruption. So if you're trying to get a project done, you got your attention on a project, and then zing, a text, zing, an email, zing, a phone call, whatever. It'll be, when that all dies down, it'll be 23 minutes before you can get back to what you really want to put your attention on.
Yeah.
And that happens a million times a day to us. My goodness. So I would love to hear your thoughts about attention and attention economy and what is going on with social media.
Sure. Well, first I'll just mention about the interruptions. I work with software engineers here from Porch Forum, and great folks. They're really focused on our mission, our social mission, but there's a concept in software engineering called flow, and it's just what you described. Because writing code is a big problem to solve, a big puzzle. And you're deep into this puzzle, and ding, 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 the notifications start going off. It's impossible to focus. And so our engineers will typically silence all their distractions so they can get into the flow. And so we all work remotely now, of course, with the pandemic. And one of my colleagues will say, where's one of the engineers? Like, well, no, he's in his cocoon. Like we purposefully protect them from those interruptions. And that's what happens in the industry a lot. And so it's interesting, I guess would be one word for it, ironic, sad, I don't know, that in the broader sense across the world, Silicon Valley, especially where so much of our software is being created, and these folks are protecting their own attention so they can get into the flow. They're building products to, by design, interrupt ours incessantly. And so I'll bridge that to another thought, which is in Vermont, folks have a real keen understanding of the concept of buying local. To get into a different, mind frame for a moment, Vermonters really understand the value of eating local. And all the benefits that accrue when you're spending your dollars with local businesses, with local, food producers, farmers, et cetera. Well, there's a similar kind of thing. That's when you're in the dollar economy. When you're in the attention economy, it's important to pay attention, to think about where you're spending your attention. And everybody understands the concept of money, because we've all been living with it for, a long time. But this idea of attention being commodified and turned into a transactional thing is kind of a relatively new concept, and it's been supercharged. So when someone spends a lot of time online, you say, well, instead of going to Facebook, try Front Porch Forum. Instead of Google, try VT Digger. Instead of Amazon, try many local shops who have online shopping. I'll say, well, what's the difference? It doesn't matter. It's just, it's just where I'm spending my attention, but it matters tremendously because that's the game plan for Silicon Valley, is to grab your attention, to monetize it in the short term, sell ads, et cetera, but then also to build these quite frightening profiles of each of us to where they know, a tremendous amount of everything we do. And and then they can monetize that further. So I don't want to come across like a crazy conspiracy theorist. This is all factual. I mean, just the other day, I went on to Amazon. There's a California law that forces them to provide you with a log of every piece of information they have on you. And I followed through on that. It took about a week, and they sent me loads and loads of files, CSV files that you could read in a spreadsheet. It was frankly all Greek to me. It was very hard. But as I kind of tried to comb through it, I was like, okay. So I looked at that web page for a dehumidifier 6 years ago, and I didn't buy it, but I read the comments, and it's like, yeah, very unsettling. You're muted now.
Sorry, I was unmuted. I want to go back to something you just said, designed on purpose, that we as users get on and we just think we're using, and we don't. There's kind of a naivete about the whole thing. And I was thinking about this, Michael, that every technology is like that. When it first comes out, there's hazards to it. And, I remember reading stories about the first x-rays were used in shoe shops so that kids would step onto an x-ray with their new shoes on to see if their new shoes were the right size. Exposure of all these kids' feet to this danger that at the time people didn't know how hazardous it was. And every technology is like that. It comes out and it's got a lot of blessings, a lot of cool things about it, but it's also got hazards, and they need to be gotten in check. Now you will not find an x-ray machine in a shoe store. But somehow it seems harder with this, Michael, for people. I mean, we understand now about the x-rays, but the understanding of the complexity and the danger of this new technology and how it's actually harming us as much as the x-rays were for the kids' feet, probably. But we kind of don't know it. We don't really get it. And what you said is designed this way on purpose. And it's not a conspiracy theory, because I mean, you've studied it, that it really is that way because they're trying to make money. There's two terms that I think are worth noting. One is the attention economy, which we've been talking about, and the other is surveillance capitalism. That's a new term that I've forgotten her name, the woman who came up with that. So it is disturbing that everything we do online is being tracked, and I think people don't actually know that. And what are the implications as you've been thinking about? What does that mean? What should we be aware of or think about?
There's a quote that sticks with me. Andrew Lewis, I think, said it. If you are not paying for it online, you're not the customer, you're the product being sold. So, you're doing your Google search, you're scrolling endlessly through Facebook. You're not paying for that. You think you're the customer, you think they exist for you. No, you're the product being sold. So there's the interesting perspective I could add to this is we've been hosting Front Porch Forum or versions of it for 20 years, so a long time. And we've been statewide since 2013. And most communities in the state, less so in Windsor and Windham counties. We're looking forward to doing better there with our participation numbers. But much of the state, 2/3 of the households participate. It's really a community forum in each location. And, we've learned a lot as we've done this work. And every posting that's submitted to Front Porch Forum is reviewed by one of our online community managers and approved and then published in a daily collection. That's our model. So it's different than Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or whatever. It's not instantaneous. It's not focused on the individual. It's the focus is on the community, and there's a different pacing. but we've learned a lot in that time. And early on, we started to realize just how very powerful it could be. And, we built it with a mission in mind. And Front Porch Forum is a public benefit corporation, so our social mission's baked right into everything we do. And that's our social mission is all around more resilient local communities in Vermont, helping neighbors connect and build that community. But as we went forward in our work early on, we saw evidence all over the place of how powerful it could be for good, which was great. People rallying around neighbors in need, people just generally getting more involved, having a growing sense of ownership of their local community, stepping up. But we also saw it could be weaponized and used, in bad ways. And I didn't take that very seriously at first, because I was like, what's the big deal? People can deal with this themselves. And I regret that. And as this was early on, we were just in a few neighborhoods, but probably the worst experience I can remember is a fellow called me up. He said, "Hey, I'm not mad at you. This is not an attack. I just need you to know, today I sold my house. I'm moving out of my community because of Front Porch Forum." And it was terrible and shocking. And it turns out a neighbor had weaponized our service, spread lies about this person he had a personal feud with, to the point where all the neighbors kind of ganged up against the one fellow who was the target. And he said, "I just can't expose my kids to this anymore. I'm moving 4 towns away," or whatever. And it was a real wake-up call for us. And that's when we started instituting much more close. That's when we started reviewing every posting before publication. We started fleshing out, the ground rules for what was allowable and what wasn't on our platform. And it's an ongoing struggle. 2020 introduced all sorts of challenges with racism, with threats to public health through conspiracy theories around the pandemic, threats to our democracy through conspiracy theories around elections, et cetera. So we needed to develop a ever more robust framework around this. The point I want to get to with this is, throughout all this work, we recognized 15 years ago how powerful this could be. And so when we saw Facebook start up, and because we predate Facebook, I think, or maybe not. Anyways, we're similar vintage. I was like, gee, I hope these guys realize what they're building. And I hope there's some people, who are grounded in some solid values. Not a lot of that going on in Silicon Valley when venture capitalists are pumping in hundreds of millions of dollars and expecting to make a 10x return in a few years. Values kind of go out the window. And what we're left with as a culture is all the outrages of big tech.
Wow, that's really quite a story. And I'm sure that was a real wake-up call for you, Michael, to
Sure.
have that happen. You set up this technology, this great service in the hopes of community building, and here it had this negative consequence. The ethics of social media, the ethics of this powerful technology, this is a spiritual issue. It really is. And it's interesting this week, and I was very aware in getting ready for the service. One piece that a headline I saw, a situation I've been following a little bit, is the Rohingya, their ethnic minority, and they are Muslim, and they are suing Facebook for $150 billion because of the ethnic cleansing, the genocide, that all of the hate postings that were on Facebook about this community, the Rohingya. And they were systematically killed.
Yeah.
And
And
Facebook was a platform to do
And
it.
Facebook knew about it and didn't act. I mean, that's what's unforgivable.
Yeah, yeah, and that's just one example, and there are more and more and more of them around the world. So I mean, we can't bring back to life those people. We can't help that man get back his home in a happy neighborhood.
You know, Mellen, I think of it's hard to wrap my head around all of this. It's big and it's different and it's new, and so I look for comparables. And one that comes to mind is the automobile industry.
Mm-hmm.
So automobiles were invented. You know, all sorts of exciting things happened in those early days. A Burlington, Vermont doctor was the first one to drive all the way across country before there were even roads, really. And you know, there's a historical marker not far from the UU meeting house here. But as you know, I can imagine those early car makers, how did they react when they realized that, you know, people were dying in their inventions? Sure, great, you know, all sorts of good things were happening, but terrible accidents, very little safety put in place. And so bit by bit, you know, government steps in, starts making regulations, but sadly the industry, you know, typically fights those regulations, say, no, we don't need seatbelts, and we don't need airbags, and we don't need this, we don't need that. And there's a similar thing going on with big tech and social media. Also, though, at the same time with the automobile comparison, now here we are, you know, a century later, realizing it's not just the accidents that are a problem. There's this, you know, cars totally rewired our economy and our culture, and to our great detriment, our environment and climate change. And you know, wars have been fought incessantly around oil to support our automobile economy, our automobile culture. And so, you know, here we are with social media, and it's every bit as big and every bit as dominant and every bit as scary. And unfortunately, well, you know, government is largely absent, or bought and paid for by the very moneyed interest. So it's very alarming. So, you know, one thing I want to make clear is I own a car. You know, I have to own a car to get around, to do what I need to do in Vermont. All right, I you know, have to, I want to, and most of us do. And I'm not hard on any individual. You know, I'm not making judgments. And the same thing goes with social media in today's day and age, in big tech. You know, I use Google and I use you know, these different services, but boy, do I try to do the equivalent of buying local, eating local when I can, and minimizing my interaction with them. And it's hard. It's hard to become aware of something, you know, to become fully aware of the problems of automobiles, you know, to become aware of suffering and injustice in the world. You know, and what do you do with that when you can't just go cold turkey?
And it's insidious in a way. I mean, what you were just saying, that you contacted Amazon and you asked them to share, you demanded, it's a right you have to share with them the data they've been collecting on you. It's so insidious because we don't necessarily think of that. You know, this eye, you know, it knows about me, it knows about you, and it's collecting all kinds of data. And so there's that aspect of it, of the surveillance capitalism of it monitoring and mining. You know, you're the product, as you just said, Michael, but it's also designed on purpose to steal your attention to junk instead of you driving the car of your life, to use that analogy, and saying, this is what I care about. I care about love, I care about community, and that's what I want to put my attention on. Boom, there goes your attention in 100 different ways that are not worthy of you and your time. and to understand it's made this way. You know, one of my heroes is Justin Harris. He's an ethicist who used to work for Google, and he started to realize the monster that he was part of designing, and he couldn't live with himself anymore. And so he left Google, and now he's a real advocate. There's some TED Talks and YouTubes by this guy, Tristan Harris. We put together a reference sheet on Michael contributed some things and various things that I've come across over the years. So it's on our website. Deb will put up a link to it, and it has these various things we've been talking about. You know, you can read more about surveillance capitalism. You can read more about the attention economy, and I highly recommend Justin Harris's work and Yuval Harari, all of them. So check out the resource list. But just back to Justin for a minute, he says this: all of us are jacked into this system. All of our minds can be hijacked. Our choices are not as free as we think. We think we're making free choices. We are not. We're being manipulated every moment that we are online. And what's kind of interesting and fun is, well, you just said it, Michael, that the engineers who are making this monster, they have that bubble around them. You know, they can go into the Oasis room and not be bothered, whereas the rest of us are being pinged every moment. But we can learn to turn it off. And in listening to one of it was Tristan Harris who said how better tech could protect us from all the distractions. So, and various people like Tristan Harris, they've put the one guy, he had his assistant set up his phone with parental control so that he could not download any apps because he didn't trust himself. He knew he would become addicted. So there are ways around this, that it's designed to harvest your data, and it's designed to steal your attention, but there are apps, there are ways around it. And one of just to look toward the hopeful side of all of this, Front Porch Forum, designed on purpose to not be surveillance capitalism. You're not harvesting data on any user, and everything's totally clear and upfront. And it's not designed to steal the attention. I remember when last week or so, when you and I were talking, Michael, you said your goal is people spend 5 or 10 minutes on Front Porch Forum, and then they go out and live their real life in their real place and connect with real people, some of whom they met through Front Porch Forum. So I mean, the design, spend 5 or 10 minutes. If I don't know anybody addicted to Front Porch Forum, you know. It's not designed that way. So could you share with us a little bit more of your vision? Because I mean, tech is, it can be horrible and destructive, but it can also be beautiful, like what you're doing, and the data that show how Front Porch Forum actually helps people live better lives. It's inspiring.
Well, thank you, Mellen. First, I'll just say to folks in the Springfield area, I am I'm hopeful but frustrated that we haven't been able to get the Springfield Front Porch Forum to a more active level. I think it's about 10% of the households participate, and we probably need to double or triple that before there's a critical mass, and the participants will really start to see the real value. There's a certain number of folks need to be involved. So any and all efforts you have to spread the word, we'd welcome that. Just send folks to frontporchforum.com, and there are different tools on our website. You can poke around and print out flyers or use an online invitation feature, that kind of thing. But it's so gratifying. The Front Porch Forum is not addictive in a sense, but I heard just a couple of days ago a statement that I hear all the time, which is people who say, out of all the things crowding my email inbox, Front Porch Forum is the one I always read.
too.
And okay, good. I'm glad to hear that. We've designed it so that, yeah, it's not addictive. It doesn't take much time. You know, I'm an engineer by training, and so mechanical engineer, not a coder. And I got into community development work eventually to Front Porch Forum. But you know, you get what you design for if you're any good at it, and actually you get what you design for no matter what. Sometimes you don't know what you're doing. You're not clear on your goals, and you have these unintended consequences. But in hindsight, you can see, you know, where you went wrong. Silicon Valley is definitely designing, you know, intentionally. They're getting what they designed for very intentionally. So with Front Porch Forum, we have just very different set of goals we're shooting for, and we want people. Well, I can poke fun at male engineer types because that's me. But I frequently will hear from folks who sign up for Front Porch Forum, and they'll send me a note, say, "Hey, you've not designed the ideal lost dog app." I said, "You know, here's how you should do it. Here's how you should change it." "Oh, you're right. We haven't. That wasn't our goal." And the next person, "You have not designed the ideal used car selling app." I'm like, "Yep, you're right. But that's not what we designed it for." And the next person, "You've not designed the ideal plumber recommendation app, ladder borrowing app, you know, school budget debate app." I say, "Look, thank you for your feedback." You know, and we're always looking for ideas, so we're always have our ears open. But we intentionally put friction in the system because what we designed for is getting neighbors to talk to each other in real life. And so, you know, people express frustration, but I can't sit at home and, you know, spend, you know, 4 hours going back and forth with folks. That's what I want to do. Or I can't be on my phone and you know, endlessly scrolling through stuff. I said, yeah, no, that's not what we designed for. We're and the pandemic put a real wrinkle in our model because you know, oftentimes people use Front Porch Forum. They go to pick up the kids at school. They go to the store. They go to the post office. They're out shoveling snow, and they interact with neighbors. And since both, you know, all the neighbors they've seen, all the people in the community they're seeing on this outing have also just, you know, read Front Porch Forum in the last hour or two, there's this common thread that they all can say, "Did you see what the select board suggested?" You know, or whatever. Or, "Did you see they're going to change that stop sign to a yield sign or to a traffic light," or, you know, whatever. And people engage with each other in real life. Anyway, so that's, some days I feel like we're tilting at windmills, but tilt we must. So, so that's our basic model.
I don't feel like you are. I feel like you've made a really big difference. I'm really, really grateful for the work that you've done. And I noticed that Valerie came on. I don't want to put you on the spot, Valerie, but Valerie's another co-founder. So if you want to say something, Valerie, please feel free to chime in, but you don't have to. This is also your brainchild. So
Valerie, I didn't know she was going to be here. All right. So I'm at our office, and she's at home with teenagers and dogs and birds in the background. So
might be too noisy there. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So or type something in the chat, Valerie, if you want to say something. Or so thank you for the gift of Front Porch Forum. You know, I was so delighted, and I actually used this in a sermon. I preached a sermon about how much I love Vermont, and it was your data, Michael, about, now remind me, Vermonters trust more of their neighbors and are more, no more of their neighbors trust their neighbors. There were different variables you measured. You don't have the data right there. I'm putting you on the spot by remembering it. My recollection is it's something like,
I've got it here.
Oh, you have it. Okay, cool.
Yeah, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, the Johnson & Johnson Family Foundation from that brand, conducted a study in Vermont a few years ago. They got 13,000 Vermonters to complete a long survey. And they said that Front Porch Forum members in Vermont are 85% are optimistic about the community where they live versus 44% of Americans generally who answer a similar question. 78% of Vermont Front Porch Forum members say that neighbors in their community trust each other versus a national average of 38%. So it was, and there were several more questions like that, but
that is wonderful. That's so inspiring. Yeah. Yeah. And I love what you said. It's by design. It's by design. So, you know, but the subtitle of our talk, holy social media, click local, that to be an active participant and realize, you know, what am I involved in? What's going on? And I noticed Diane, Diane Campbell just put in the chat box, hey, everybody, don't forget to shop locally, the gallery at Vault, local community art center marketplace for over 125 artists, new website. You can shop online or come on in. So yeah, that's one of our local art collectives. It's really, really beautiful and wonderful. Thank you for posting that, Diane. So what, you know, on the one hand, it's overwhelming to take this in, that this tech stuff is being designed to monetize us, to use us, and to steal our attention. But on the other hand, it's very hopeful because you have created something beautiful that is making the towns in Vermont come together, that is making Vermont a better place, and the other adjacent states that are getting on board. And so not everybody on this call is from Vermont. And I want to encourage everyone to look for your local options and or create one. And for all of us to realize there are design elements behind these things that we're using that are insidious and perhaps harmful, and get in the driver's seat and turn off. You know, on I use AOL. I have a vintage email, but you can turn off the ding, you know, for a new mail. You don't need to be hearing that all the time. You can design your environment so that it protects your attention. And at Middlebury College, the students do something that's called a media fast, where they just give up. I forget for how long it is, a week, 2 weeks, a month, and it changes their lives. And so consider a media fast for yourself. Consider using some of these apps and these technology to help you use it wisely, and be careful what you give away. Terms and Conditions May Apply is a fantastic documentary. It's on the resource list. Deb, thank you for putting the resource list up in the chat box. That when you sign away, you know, the terms that you want to use an app, you want to use something, and you without really looking, you sign away, you're giving up a lot. And the United States is the worst in the world in terms of this. Other countries have more limits, but the United States, they can mine your data and all kinds of stuff. And in that movie, Terms and Conditions May Apply, they said that if a worker actually read all of the terms and conditions, it would take one entire month of their work life. Nobody does it. We're just blindly saying, oh, sure, use my data for this. Oh, yeah, sure, mine me for that. Oh, sure, sign me up for this, without realizing. So it's a tough problem. But I'm hopeful, Michael, that your leadership and people like Tristan Harris, who have abandoned ship on Google and who are saying, hey, we can do better. We can do better. We can design programs to make people happy and healthy and make communities vibrant. So do you have any closing thoughts for us, Michael? We're going to do a song in a minute.
Well, I would just say that I am hopeful, because for the first time, just like with automobiles, we're now at a point where the public's attention, traditional media's attention, Congress and the federal administration are starting to attend to the challenges of big tech. It's not going to happen. There's not, corrections aren't going to happen all at once or quickly, but there's at least, it feels very different than it did 5 years ago, when almost nobody even understood the concept. So now people are understanding, getting it, starting to get, that said, there's still no protests in the street. There's no, I marched in any number of climate change marches. I've never marched in a anti-big tech march anywhere. People aren't aware yet at that level, but they need to be. It's right up there with climate change as one of the biggest threats, I think, to humans. And also on the hopeful side, there's Front Porch Forum is part of a growing movement of what people are calling civic tech. So, it goes by a lot of names, but that's one of them. And it's, tech for good. And that doesn't mean, Google greenwashing themselves as good, but, genuine efforts to do good stuff with this amazing technology and tools that we have at our disposal. So keep an eye out for that. Civic
tech. That's great. I hadn't heard that term before. That is hopeful. That is wonderful to hear. Beautiful, Jess. So let's just take a minute for some silence, and I want to do it differently. Usually I ask you to focus on your breath. Michael, you have that gorgeous morning glory behind you. Would you mind if we use that morning glory, if you just move to the side slightly, and we use that morning glory for focus? One of the spiritual practices is an attention practice where you take a point, and I'm inviting you to use Michael's screen and that white point in the middle of his son's beautiful morning glory photo, and just focus on that. Don't let your vision wander. Just focus on that. And this is like building up your attention muscles. So let's just do that in silence for a little bit. Thank you for sharing that silence, and thank you for sharing in that meditation attention practice. Was it hard? Maybe it was. We are not used to controlling our attention. And as Emerson says, that which dominates our imagination and our thoughts will determine our lives and our character. So get back your attention, take control. And if you, that exercise of a dot on the wall and focusing on it for a minute, that is a known practice in many spiritual traditions to build up your ability. Because as the Buddhists say, what you do with your attention, it's everything about your life. So you can add that to your tool bag of your spiritual practices to shoot a dot that you focus on. So let us have our closing song. Thank you so much, Julaine, for this beautiful song, All Shall Be Well. You could feel overwhelmed and hopeless and discouraged by this, but as Michael pointed out, that there's work being done. Civic tech, may it be so. Let us do our extinguishing of the chalice and sounding of the bell, and we will do our joys and sorrows after that. So Sharon, yes, and hear these words from the Nobel laureate Herbert Simon. A wealth of information creates a poverty of attention. If you have found community here, treasure it and nurture it. If you have found challenge here, I hope you have, go and sit quietly with what is stirring in your heart. And if you have found hope here, bring it out into our confused and beautiful world that needs you centered and able to pay attention to what really matters. May it be so, blessed be. Amen. And Sharon has the bell for us.